Hey, shit sucks really bad right now, so let's talk about vampires for a little bit.
Please, please nobody comment about my lisp in this entire video. I know. I committed to the bit of wearing fangs the entire time, and that's what happens. So this is what my normal voice sounds like. No one comment on it, please.
Hi, I'm Griffin. I'm going to talk about the 2003 movie Underworld for probably too long. I first watched this movie like a month or two ago. My partner showed it to me. They're very into vampires. And it has been living in my brain rent-free since then. I can't stop thinking about the 2003 movie Underworld, and that's why I need to make this video. Underworld 2003 is a bad movie that I think you should watch. Cause like it's good. I mean, it's not good. It's bad except for when it's good, but it is bad. Okay, here's my thing. I don't like just bad movies, right? Like I can't do The Room, or I can't watch a movie because it's bad. I can't find enjoyment out of that. I need something that legitimately moves me about a movie. So I need a movie that's either like a good idea that the creators couldn't really deliver on, or a bad idea that the creators fucking committed to 110%. And yes, that latter one is the second Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Don't judge me. But Underworld, there's practical effects. It's trying to be The Matrix because it was 2003. And there's a really beautiful, heartbreaking, and human story, like character arc at the core of it, that the movie doesn't spend any time on. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you the plot of Underworld, or at least however much of it is relevant to my point. And then we're gonna talk about it. For the record, you can watch Underworld after this video. I actually don't care about spoiling a 21-year-old movie. And honestly, I liked my second watch through a lot better than I liked my first. So I feel like spoilers actually are going to make the movie better. You can also watch it right now if you want. Just watch the movie at some point and also watch this video at a different point. Or at the same time, if you want. To set the scene, we got vampires and we got werewolves. They're called lichens. In the movie, I'm going to use werewolves and lichens interchangeably because the movie does too. They're the two species of immortals in this world. They don't age. You can kill them if you try hard enough, but they do have regenerative abilities. Most characters in this movie are either a vampire or a werewolf, so I'm going to put them on the board as such. Before I do actually get into the movie, though, there is one werewolf that I do want to talk about. This is Ray's. He's played by Kevin Grevia. Kevin Grevia has had a bunch of roles. He does both voice acting and film acting. He has a voice that is so deep that it sounds like it has been digitally altered. It has not. That's just his voice. He is also the co-writer of this movie. Kevin Grevia, not Ray's. The man, the real human man. Kevin Grevia, fun fact, as well as being a movie and comic book writer, has a background in genetic engineering. And so I'm a little bit obsessed with this man. Because one, he's made the lore of the vampires and werewolves really cool. Because since he has a background in genetic engineering, what the vampires and werewolves actually are two mutations of an immortality disease. That's why they're transmissible by bite. And also, just a bit of lore, if you get both diseases, you just die. They're incompatible. They don't work together in the human body. An icon. King. I'm going to talk about this man more later. But he's great. And everything good about this movie, I feel like, is because of him. Okay, so vampires and werewolves. They're at war. They don't like each other. Leading the vampires, we have the three vampire elders. Only one of them matters. His name is Victor. He's the only one that matters. But it does matter that there are three of them. It's just that two of them individually don't. Okay, so the vampire elders take turns being in charge of all the vampires, and so they take like 100-year shifts where only one of them is awake and in charge of all the vampires, and the other two are sleeping. This is plot relevant, and it's a little confusing, but there, I explained it for you. Leading the werewolves is Lucien, the strongest of the werewolves, except actually, not anymore. Nope, shit. Not anymore. Not anymore. Cause he died. He's been dead for 600 years. At the start of this movie, where's my pointer? He's been dead for 600 years. He was killed by this fucking guy, Craven. I don't want to talk about Craven. I'm going to have to talk about Craven a few times, but I don't... Let it be known that I don't want to talk about Craven. He did kill Lucien 600 years ago, so now, Victor likes him. Because he killed the big werewolf man. Since Lucien's death, the war has been less a war and more a campaign by the vampires to kill all of the remaining Lycans, which is super cool and normal, and I'm sure all of our main characters will completely agree with them for the entirety of this movie. And this brings us to our main character. This is Celine. She's our main character. She's played by Kate Beckinsale, doing an amazing job. Incredible, iconic action heroine. Celine has no social skills. The only tool she has for interacting with the world is gun. She is a death dealer. Her job is to hunt down and kill werewolves. That's a whole job in vampire society. She doesn't know why there's a war. It's kind of implied that she's a little bit younger than these other vampires. Because it's implied later that she's never met Lucien before. She doesn't know the beginnings of the war, but she does have a personal stake in it. Her backstory, and how she became a vampire, is that when she was human, werewolves killed her whole family, and would have killed her were it not for Victor, who saved her after the rest of her family was killed and turned her into a vampire. And so he's her vampire dad. We open on a pretty average hunt for Celine. Her and a couple of death dealers are hunting down some werewolves. But it goes a little weird. Celine's like, hey, it kind of seems like these werewolves are tailing a human, which is weird. But they don't do that. The vampires and werewolves, for the most part, do not even consider humans people, really. They just kind of don't interact with them. Seems like they're following a guy. And also, there's sort of an indication that there might be way more werewolves than we thought. We thought they were almost dead because of the aforementioned super cool and good and definitely not incredibly fucked up extermination campaign. But it sounds like there's a lot of them down here in the sewers by the subway station. So Celine tries to tell her boss, who at this point is Craven. You see, currently Victor is asleep. It is not currently his turn, and it's not about to be his turn, right? So there's another 100 years before he even wakes up. And he has left his vampire manor in the charge of Craven because of the aforementioned killing of the big werewolf man. The current elder, who again, doesn't matter, has fucked off to another continent or something. I guess they each have their own manners that they have specifically that, but they're still in control. I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter. Victor's asleep. So Celine, after not being listened to, goes rogue, obviously, and she does a classic computer zoom and enhance on some security footage that is oh girl, that's digital. You're not getting anything more out of that. But she finds the guy that the werewolves were following. It's this guy, Michael. He's a human, so he's in the middle. She breaks into his apartment, while he's at work. He's a nursing student. And she's going through all his shit. She hears a voicemail from his friend that, like, some really suspicious cops were looking for him, a cab. And Michael comes home and finds her there and is like, what the fuck? Celine, for her part, slams Michael up against the wall by the throat and starts interrogating him. And God, I wish that were me. Uh-oh! In the middle of this, a bunch of werewolves arrive. Fight scene number 2. Michael is trying to get away from all of this. He doesn't like any part of this, so he's trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. Unfortunately, he does get bitten by a werewolf. Celine comes in, doesn't realize Michael's been bitten, shoots the werewolf, and just yoinks the man out of there and into her car. Celine, while driving, due to the fight, passes out from blood loss, which is apparently a thing you can do as a vampire in this world. Just pass out from blood loss. The car they're driving crashes, rolls, falls into the river. Celine is still passed out. Michael breaks the window, gets her out of there, does CPR, and then passes out himself because getting bit by a vampire is a lot. You just got a vampire disease, as previously mentioned. So she takes him to the vampire mansion. We've already seen the vampire mansion, but I actually do need to make a quick detour about the vampire mansion. The sort of main room in the vampire mansion, in Victor's vampire mansion, is this living room with couches, and all of these vampires are sort of luxuriously lounging and drinking and being hedonistic. And we don't get a great idea of the layout of this mansion, but it kind of seems like, from various shots, the only way to get from one room to another in this mansion, you have to go through the vampire hedonism living room. And I think that's really funny. Anyways, the other vampires make fun of her and also chastise her for bringing a human into the thing. You're not supposed to do that. Also, again, she doesn't know about the werewolf bite. I should actually, real quick. Michael's a werewolf now. Like, not entirely, but like he's been bit. He's been bit. Celine doesn't know that until one of her vampire buddies, well, not buddies, they don't like each other. One of her fellow vampires notices it and tells her. Michael still doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Gets the hell out of there. And in the meantime, Craven is yelling at Celine. But an interesting thing happens. Craven refers to Lucien, the guy he killed, in the present tense. Because that's right, motherfuckers. Lucien's alive. And also he's Michael Sheen, who's, just killing it. Just killing it in this movie. We've seen Michael Sheen before. We didn't know he was Lucien, but he is the one who bit Michael and was shot by Celine. He's fine. He's still alive. So Celine, after hearing this slip up, breaks into the vampire archives. And something she says later implies that this is a vampire crime. But she breaks into the archives to learn about Lucien. She finds stuff about Lucien and realizes that the werewolf she shot earlier was wearing Lucien's necklace. You can maybe see it. I don't know how good that camera is. Celine is having a very bad day, and she is desperate for someone to listen to her. And so she does another big vampire crime. The normal vampires that aren't the Three Elders are not supposed to wake up the Elders. And definitely not at the wrong time. And if you recall, Celine's vampire dad is a slumbering elder. He's the only person she trusts. So she does a big vampire crime and wakes him up herself 100 years early. Victor, by the way, played by character actor Bill Nighy, who, along with Michael Sheen, is the best fucking part of this movie. Kate Beckinsale's no slouch. Kate Beckinsale is doing a great job. I don't want to discredit her, but these two are just absolutely fucking killing it, as always. Before Victor can wake all the way up, because as we all know, reanimation is a process, Michael appears at the front door of the mansion asking for Celine because he's just run away from those very suspicious cops. A cab. Celine, now knowing that he is going to turn into a werewolf, takes him the fuck away from the mansion and explains all the lore to him. I already told you the lore. You're welcome. Celine takes Michael to a vampire safe house away from the mansion, which is also a werewolf torture facility. She doesn't want to use it for that, but that is what the building is. They have a little heart-to-heart. They have a very nice little heart-to-heart. They explain their backstories to each other. I already explained to you Celine's backstory because I'm giving things from the perspective of Celine. You're welcome. And Michael, in this heart-to-heart, goes, hey, Celine, don't you think it's fucked up that you don't know why you're fighting a war? And she says they're not allowed to ask about it. Vampires aren't allowed to question why they're fighting a whole war. And she says that like it's totally normal and cool. And like in the moment, this line is kind of glossed over, but it's real important. It's very important. There's nice heart to heart. Michael goes, hey, pretty fucked up. You're not allowed to ask about your history. And Celine locks him in there. It's not for saying that. The full moon is coming. Mind you, in this point in the timeline, the full moon does not have sway over older werewolves, but it does over new werewolves. And so she just doesn't want him to hurt anyone or get hurt on his first transformation. And she also has shit to do. Because she needs to go back and talk to Victor. Unfortunately for her, she did do a very big vampire crime. And Victor barely listens to her and then puts her in timeout. Luckily for her, Erica, another vampire who's been here the whole time, but I didn't mention before because she didn't really matter up until this point, she helps Celine escape. Not because she likes Celine, but because she wants to fuck Craven for some reason. And helping Celine escape happens to align with that goal at this moment in time. Which, hey, by the way, you might have noticed something about this board, about the characters on it. And I only have one more character that is not on this board. And I'll let you in on a secret. It's not a woman. Yeah, Celine and Erica are kind of the only female characters in this movie. Technically, there are two other female characters who do have names, but they super don't matter. Yeah, this movie does not pass the Bechdel test even a little bit. No, not even close. So, anyways, Erica helps Celine escape. Celine gets back to Michael. She's being tailed by werewolves. She has Michael jump out the window, because one of the perks of becoming an immortal is that you're immune to fall damage, just like in D&D. Michael, unfortunately, does get picked up by those two sketchy cops who do turn out to be werewolves, ACAB. So Celine is back in the manor, and thanks to that last fight scene, now she has the weird, creepy werewolf Dr. Man, whose name is only in the subtitles. It's never said once in the movie. He has been here the whole time, on the werewolf side of things, but Celine hasn't met him yet, so he's only on the board now. At last, thanks to weird werewolf Dr. Man, the plot can finally make sense. Yay! So remember how I said earlier that the werewolf disease and the vampire disease are incompatible. That is, for the most part, true. But Michael has special blood for reasons that aren't important for this movie. They are important for the sequel, but the sequel is bad. Don't watch the sequel. But what his special blood does is that it would allow him to have both the werewolf disease and the vampire disease at the same time, while not killing him, making him a hybrid of vampires and werewolves, stronger than both. And so Lucien's plan is to inject Michael's blood into him, because with Michael's blood, Lucien would be able to do the same thing. So if he got some vampire blood, Lucien could become the hybrid. So that's why they were after Michael, and also it proves to Victor that Lucien's alive. Victor wants to kill Michael because he's a eugenicist. And he rallies the vampire forces for a full assault on the werewolf base. And this leads us to our climactic action sequence, which, frankly, most of the action doesn't really matter. But some bits of it do matter a lot. We learn two pieces of information, 2 lies that Celine was told, that we get revealed. Firstly, we learn through Michael, finally, how the war started. Werewolves were once a subservient class to the vampires. The werewolves were their guardians during the day. And then one day, a vampire and a werewolf fell in love. It's very Romeo and Juliet. And that werewolf was Lucien. They fell in love. They got married. She got pregnant. And when Victor learned of this, he forced Lucien to watch as he burned her to death with sunlight. Yeah. Side note, the vampire that Lucien loved, that Victor grotesquely burned to death, was Victor's daughter. So, after this traumatic experience, Lucien ran away, started a rebellion, led to a war. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's a little bit tangential to sort of where my point is. But I do need to point out that this part of the story is really good writing. Kevin Grevia, again, co-writer, has mentioned before that this plot beat is based off of his own struggles with interracial relationships. And like, yeah, dude, like that's good allegory. That's good storytelling. It's important and good. And I need you all to know that as I kind of breeze past it. Good? You good? Good. It's kind of unclear, actually, if Celine learns this fact. We can assume Michael told her. Meanwhile, Lucien is dying from silver for complicated reasons. He's been shot before he can do his plan, right? He hasn't been able to inject any of the blood into him. He's dying. While he's dying, though, he sees Celine coming to rescue Michael. And he sees sort of their relationship. And he realizes, even if he dies, these two can still prove his point. We'll get back to Lucien in a minute. The second reveal is that of Celine's personal backstory. That's right, I lied to you at the very beginning of the video. You see, werewolves didn't kill Celine's family. Victor did. Yeah, Victor slaughtered Celine's entire family and then could not bring himself to kill Celine, and so he turned her and lied to her for hundreds of years. So there's this reveal. Craven shoots Michael because he fucking sucks. I don't want to talk about Craven. Michael's dying from silver because, again, he is a werewolf now. And Lucien, while dying, has dragged himself into this scene and tells Celine to bite him. Because Michael's got that special blood. And so Celine bites him. And now, Michael is the hybrid. Victor is very upset about this because of the whole eugenics thing. And so there's a big final battle, and it's Michael and Celine versus Victor. And Celine kills her father figure with his own sword. It's a very cool samurai movie moment that goes on a little bit too long. And the sort of end of the movie is uncertain, but like maybe has a tinge of hope, right? Of like, we don't know where we're going now, but we found the truth at least, and maybe we can build something better. So, do y'all see the really, really amazing character arc in here? You see the one hidden? Because it's Celine's. It's the main characters. Like I said, Celine has no social skills, and it's not because she's immortal. Other vampires think she's weird. The only way that she knows how to interact with the world is through violence. The only emotions that she seemingly has towards any of the other vampires is weird, kind of fucked up devotion to Victor and varying levels of annoyance with literally everyone else. At the beginning of the movie, she doesn't really consider werewolves or humans people, right? Because of the eugenics thing. But like, at least she knows who she is. She doesn't like anyone, but she has her identity. She only knows violence, but she's secure in that, right? And then things start going wrong, and no one's listening to her, and Victor isn't here, and she's having a very bad day. So she goes rogue. She finds the dude the lichens were tailing. And she just likes this guy? Which, okay. Tangent. These two characters have no chemistry. And I don't know if it's writing or directing or acting, or if I just find this white man so deeply uncompelling. But I'm going to follow what the movie wants me to think here, right? I'm going to suspend my disbelief about the relationship between these two characters and, you know, say she just genuinely likes this boring fucking dude. And importantly, I am not actually reading this as romantic. The movie wants it to be romantic. They kiss, but that's because it was 2003. And if your male and female lead didn't hetero kiss by the end of the movie in 2003, the ghost of the Hays Code would emerge from hell and punch you directly in the throat. But I don't read this relationship as romantic. Here's the thing. Major self-awareness points to Michael's actor, Scott Speedman, who in one of the bonus features says it's not really a romantic story, but something's happening. He like says something along those lines, and it's like, okay, you know what movie you're in. Again. I don't want to read this as romantic. I know the movie wants it to be romantic, but I don't think it is, and I think it's just as compelling without romance. Erica at one point describes Celine as being infatuated, which I like better. It's not necessarily romantic. That's like she's fascinated. She's drawn in by him, and I think that's more accurate. Celine just normally likes another human person for the first time in like 500 years. So she is super thrown off. She's in a new social situation. Lucian's alive. No one's listening to her. So she goes rogue again and wakes Victor up. And then this dude that she just likes being around says, hey, it's pretty fucked up that you're not allowed to learn about your history. And when he says this, Celine has already learned one lie about her history today. And then Victor, the only person she trusts, puts her away and wants her to kill this guy who's the first person she's liked in like half a millennia. He actually specifically says that she would be redeemed for her vampire crimes in his eyes if she personally kills him. The internal conflict about that moment alone is massive, and the movie spends no time on it. And then finally she learns even more bigger lies about her history, and finally she kills the person who's been abusing everyone. End of movie. It's such a deeply human story told through a non-human character. Like discovering that you've been gaslit and discovering how to just like a person in a normal, healthy way after being in an incredibly controlling environment. Like, that's the story of getting out of an abusive relationship. That's the story of getting out of a cult. Like, that's so human and beautiful and heartbreaking. And the movie doesn't spend any time on it. And okay, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of fanfic writing in the last couple minutes of this video. And I want to preface it. I do not think the things that I'm about to bring up are a better version of Underworld. Because one, I'm not a screenwriter. And two, this was an action blockbuster in 2003. Like, it did the things that it needed to do. Again, it's a bad movie. But I don't feel comfortable ever saying that, like, I would make a better one. You know what I mean? What I'm going to say is not a better version of Underworld. It's just a piece of Underworld that fascinates me. And I want to spend some time on. Okay? You understand? I'm not fixing Underworld. I'm not making Underworld better. Underworld is perfect and bad. We're writing some fanfic together. Let's go. That being said, I want a version of this story that really gets into Celine's head. Where is she at when Michael nudges her and she's already found out lies about her past? What is she wrestling with? What's her internal monologue as the only identity she's had for her immortal life starts to crumble around her? And she wants to keep her convictions so bad. She's had these convictions for hundreds of years, but she's found one lie already, and she just likes this guy? I feel like there's so much there, and we just don't see it. And don't get me wrong, Kate Beckinsale is doing a great job with this. And I think she's bringing it to the performance. Like, if you asked her, well, not if you asked her now, because this movie is old enough to drink alcohol in the United States, but if you asked her, like, at the time, I feel like she would probably tell you all of these same things about Celine with very little prompting. I think she knows, and I think she is trying to bring that to the character. It's just the movie itself doesn't focus on it. So I was thinking about this. And then I thought about Revenge of the Sith. I promise this is relevant. I learned recently that the novelization of Revenge of the Sith is apparently really good. You get to spend a lot more time in characters' heads, and sort of the pacing of a novel works a lot better for the sort of political drama they were going for, and we're not bogged down by George Lucas writing. And I decided, thinking about it, I'm like, I need an Underworld novelization. I think a novelization would actually be the perfect way to tell this story. And guess what we found? That's right, next video. Underworld novel book report. Let's fucking go. I want to talk to Kevin about his world building. I want to talk to this man. I mentioned briefly before that Underworld 2, the sequel to Underworld, is just bad. I want you to watch Underworld 1. I do not want you to watch Underworld 2. And I firmly believe that Underworld 2 is bad, specifically because Kevin Grevioux was not involved. He was not involved with the second movie. I don't want to throw shade. I don't want to be rude to a professional film writer, who's the other writer of this movie. But I so legitimately think that all of the good storytelling parts of this movie were Kevin. I think it's him. I think he's the one. He did the world building. I think he's the one with the good ideas. So, to end out this video about how I have brainworms about Underworld, I'd like to speak specifically to Mr. Grevioux. Kevin. Mr. Grevioux. We're both comic writers who are from Chicago. I will buy you a coffee and talk to you about your cool vampire world from 2003 if we're ever in the same city and if you are ever interested. I think that would be great. I would really enjoy talking to you about your incredible vampire world. My partner, Isidore, who helped me write this video, and is the one who exposed me to this movie, has also said that they will get a poster of Raise the Lycan and hang it in their home if you will sign it. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Grevioux, for this movie. I'm obsessed with it. And I think you did a great job. I want to talk to this 62-year-old man about vampires and werewolves. Is that weird? Hey! Thanks for watching me ramble about a movie that I love and don't think is very good for however long this video was. Also, post-video fit check. I got fangs in. I'm a Lycan. I'm getting werewolfy with that. It's fun. I don't know, if you liked this, like, comment, and subscribe, I guess. This is a new thing that I'm doing. I've never done a video essay like this before. I hope you like it. Share it with your friends. Get your friends to watch Underworld with you. It's a fun movie to watch with other people. Have a watch party of this video, and then immediately watch Underworld. And also, by the way, I don't fuck Apple, fuck all companies. But I will say that if you get this movie on Apple TV, you do also get bonus features, which, as a child of the Blockbuster era, I miss bonus features. I miss bonus features so much. And the bonus features are so good. It's how I learned about so many of these extracurricular things about this movie. Love bonus features. So yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Watch Underworld. I promise. It's fun.